Hey guys, tonight we're taking a journey back in time, way back, to the very dawn of humanity. I want you to close your eyes and imagine the cold, rough stone beneath you, the smell of damp earth and smoke clinging to the air. You're not just listening to a story, you're about to become part of it. You're waking up in a prehistoric cave, a place that is both your sanctuary and a flimsy shield against a world teeming with colossal, hairy beasts and unseen dangers. The air is crisp and carries the scent of pine, and something else, something wild and unknown. You roll over, feeling the aches in your muscles from sleeping on the hard ground. You probably won't survive this for more than a few days, so let's make it count. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you in the comments below. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first rays of sunlight, weak and hesitant, creep into your cave. You blink, your eyes adjusting to the dim light. This isn't the gentle morning you're used to. This is a call to action. The tribe is stirring around you, a small family unit huddled together for warmth. You see your mother, her face etched with the lines of a life lived on the edge. You see your father, his hand resting on the stone axe by his side, even in sleep. You see your younger siblings, still wrapped in a layer of animal hide, their breathing shallow and rhythmic. You are a part of this unit, and your survival is tied directly to theirs. The cave itself is more than just a home. It's a living document. The walls are not smooth. They are textured with 1,000,000 years of geological history, and in some places, the faint etchings of your ancestors tell silent stories of hunts and gatherings. Historians still argue whether these earliest marks were true art or simply a way of tracking important events, but for you, they are a comfort, a reminder that others have survived here before. The air outside the cave is a shock to your senses. It's not a gentle breeze, but a cold, heavy gust that promises a long and difficult day. You can smell the dew on the leaves, the damp earth, and in the distance, the musky scent of a woolly rhinoceros. You hear the chittering of small mammals and the distant, lowing call of a herd of mammoths. It's a symphony of survival, and you are just one instrument in this massive, chaotic orchestra. Your stomach is already rumbling, a familiar pang of hunger that has been with you since yesterday's meager meal. Your father stands up, his movements slow and deliberate. He's the leader, the hunter, the provider. You see the deep responsibility in his eyes. He gives you a look that says, "It's time to go." You nod, and you know what that means. You're going out to find food. This isn't a quick trip to the grocery store. This is a life or death mission. You pull on a hide, one that's been scraped and softened with a lot of effort, and tie it around your waist with a strip of leather. It's not much, but it's something. Your feet are bare, tough, and calloused from years of walking on uneven terrain. You grab a sharpened stone from the pile by the cave entrance, its edge a familiar weight in your hand. This simple tool is your lifeline, your protection. You follow your father and a few other men from the tribe out of the cave. The world is a vast, untamed wilderness. There are no roads, no signs, just a seemingly endless landscape of trees, rocks, and rivers. The first order of business is water. You'll need it to survive the day, and the tribe's source is a stream, a short walk away. The stream itself is a thing of beauty, clear and cold, but you know that even this seemingly peaceful place holds its own dangers. You've seen the tracks of a saber-toothed cat by the water's edge. You take a sip, the cold water, a jolt to your system, and then it's time to begin the real hunt. Your stomach rumbles again, a low, guttural protest that seems far too loud in this silent, waiting world. It's a sound you're intimately familiar with. Hunger is your constant companion, a ghost that follows you from the moment you wake until you finally drift off to sleep. Today, the plan is to find something substantial. The small berries and grubs you found yesterday were a temporary fix, a flimsy truce in the war against starvation. Today, you need meat. The tribe needs meat. A successful hunt means warmth from a fire, tools from bones, and a full stomach for everyone. A failed hunt. Well, a failed hunt means another night of gnawing hunger and the cold dread of what tomorrow might bring. The hunting party is small, just you, your father, and 2 other men, their faces grim with determination. You move through the undergrowth, your steps silent and practiced. You know which branches will snap and which leaves will rustle, and you instinctively avoid them. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth and the promise of rain. You keep your head on a swivel, your eyes scanning the dense woods for any sign of movement, any flicker of an ear or twitch of a tail. This is not a game. This is a dance with death, and the smallest mistake could be your last. You're tracking a woolly rhinoceros, a beast so large it could flatten you with a casual step. The tracks are fresh, deep imprints in the soft mud that point towards a clearing. You can almost feel the ground tremble beneath you, even though the beast is still a distance away. You're not scared, not really. Fear is a luxury you can't afford. It's replaced by a cold, calculating focus, a sharpened sense of purpose. Your father signals for everyone to stop. He crouches low, his eyes scanning the horizon. He's seen something. You follow his gaze, your heart thumping a slow, steady rhythm in your chest. In the distance, at the edge of a clearing, a massive shape moves behind a thicket of ancient ferns. Its thick, shaggy coat is a perfect camouflage against the drab, grey landscape. It's beautiful and terrifying all at once. The plan is simple, or at least as simple as it can be when you're hunting a walking tank with a horn the size of a small tree. Two of you will create a distraction, while your father, the most experienced hunter, gets close enough for a single, fatal blow. You are one of the two. This is not a task for the faint of heart, but you trust your father's judgment implicitly. You've seen him take down beasts far bigger than you are with nothing but a sharpened rock and a deep understanding of animal anatomy. You and the other man move in a wide arc, your bodies hugging the shadows of the forest. The air grows colder, and a few fat raindrops begin to fall, splattering on the large leaves of the ancient ferns. The rhinoceros doesn't seem to notice you. It's too busy grazing, its massive head buried in a patch of low-lying vegetation. You take a deep breath, the scent of wet fur and damp earth filling your lungs. You find a loose stone, heavy and jagged, and you raise it over your head. This is the moment. You let out a wild, guttural scream, a sound that is part battle cry and part primal terror. The rhinoceros's head shoots up, its small eyes wide with alarm. It snorts, a cloud of white steam billowing from its nostrils. It's looking right at you. You hurl the rock, and it strikes the beast's shoulder with a sickening thud. It doesn't even seem to notice. But the sound has done its job. It's distracted. Your father is a ghost. You don't see him move, but suddenly he's there, a blur of motion at the rhinoceros's flank. He raises his spear, a long, sharpened stick with a heavy stone tip, and drives it with all his might into the soft spot behind the beast's shoulder. The rhinoceros lets out a roar of pain, a sound that shakes the very ground beneath your feet. It stumbles, its massive legs buckling. It falls to the ground with a shuddering crash. And then, silence. Historians still argue whether early humans had a true understanding of anatomy or simply used trial and error to find the weak spots of their prey. But in this moment, you know your father knew exactly what he was doing. It's a successful hunt. You and the other man emerge from the shadows, your chests heaving, your legs shaking. You approach the fallen beast with a mixture of reverence and relief. This will feed the tribe for days. You kneel beside the massive body, your hands tracing the smooth, cold stone of your father's spear. You've done it. For tonight at least you are safe. With the hunt successful, the mood shifts from the tense, focused energy of the chase to a more relaxed, though still wary, atmosphere. You and your companions work quickly to field dress the rhinoceros, a messy but necessary task. Your father expertly uses his stone tools to carve away the hide and separate the usable meat from the fat and organs. A good portion of this will be carried back to the cave, a heavy but welcome burden. But a hunting party doesn't live on meat alone. A balanced diet, as you'll hear in every sleep-inducing episode of this series, is key to survival. So, while a few of the men begin the long, slow process of dragging the massive carcass, you and a couple of others are sent to forage. You leave the scent of blood and triumph behind, turning your attention to the silent, green world around you. You're not looking for movement anymore, but for color and shape. You scan the ground and the low-lying bushes with a different kind of focus, one that has been passed down through generations. Your senses are finely tuned to the subtle clues of the forest. You know which berries are a vibrant, juicy red and which are a dull, poisonous shade of maroon. You know which roots are sweet and starchy and which will make you violently ill. This isn't knowledge you learned from a book, of course. It's knowledge you've earned through observation, through watching your elders, and, on more than one occasion, through a painful stomachache. A fringe tidbit here. Some historians believe that early humans may have developed an immunity to certain toxins by eating small, non-lethal amounts of poisonous plants over time, a slow and dangerous form of natural vaccination. I certainly wouldn't recommend trying it yourself. You spot a patch of wild onions, their green shoots pushing up from the dark, rich soil. You carefully dig them up with your hands, the sharp, pungent smell a welcome change from the heavy scent of the rhinoceros. You also find a small bush, laden with what look like blackberries. You know these are safe. You pop one in your mouth, the burst of sweet and tart flavor, a rare and delightful treat. But you don't eat many. You need to save most of them for the tribe, especially the young ones. The forager's life is one of discipline. You take only what you need, and you leave enough for the plant to recover and for others to find food later. This is an unspoken rule, a natural law that you follow without question. You are a part of this ecosystem, not its master. As you move deeper into the woods, you come across a strange sight. A mushroom, large and white, with a beautiful frilly cap. It looks exactly like a mushroom you've seen your mother avoid at all costs. She would always tell you, in a series of grunts and gestures, that the white frilly ones are bad. Historians still argue whether early humans had a comprehensive understanding of fungi, but you know that this mushroom is a harbinger of sickness and death. You kick a little dirt over it, a small gesture of warning to anyone who might follow you. You've also learned to observe animals. A flock of small, colourful birds are feasting on a patch of berries, a clear sign that they are safe to eat. You join them for a moment, enjoying the feast. A mainstream historical fact is that early human diet was far more varied than just large game. While a mammoth or a rhino hunt was a significant event, a majority of the daily calories came from roots, tubers, berries, and insects. It was a constant cycle of hunting and gathering, a never-ending quest for sustenance. You fill your hide bag with the onions, berries, and some edible roots you found. The bag feels heavy, a comforting weight on your shoulder. The sky is beginning to darken, the grey clouds thickening and promising a good downpour. You need to get back to the cave, back to the warmth of the fire and the safety of your family. You retrace your steps, your mind a mental map of the forest floor, a map you've been building and adding to since you could first walk. You're not just a forager, you are a living, breathing catalogue of the landscape. And as you walk, you feel a deep sense of satisfaction. You've contributed, you've survived. For one more day, you have outsmarted the hungry world. Your journey back to the cave is a quiet one, your mind already turning to the next challenge. The rain begins to fall, a soft, steady drumming on the broad leaves of the prehistoric ferns. You pull the animal hide tighter around you, a small, futile attempt to stay dry. The air cools, and the smell of wet earth fills your nostrils. You can't wait to get back to the warmth of the fire, the reassuring presence of your tribe. But even with a full hide bag and a successful hunt under your belt, your work isn't done. Not by a long shot. Survival in this world isn't just about finding food and avoiding predators. It's also about a deep, intuitive understanding of your environment and the things you can pull from it to make your life just a little bit easier. This brings us to a topic that may sound a little dry, but trust me, it was the absolute bedrock of your existence: tool making. When you return, the rhinoceros carcass is already being butchered by the rest of the tribe. You drop your foraging bag and join the others. The scene is a chaotic but efficient ballet of stone tools against flesh and bone. Your father hands you a piece of flint, a rough, dark stone that is heavy and cool to the touch. This isn't just any stone. It's a special kind of stone, one that breaks in a very specific way. Your task is to turn this lump of rock into a usable tool. You find a comfortable spot near the fire, the warmth a welcome relief from the damp chill of the evening. You take a larger, rounded stone, your hammerstone, and you begin to work. You hold the flint in one hand and the hammerstone in the other. With a steady, controlled motion, you strike the edge of the flint. Crack. A thin, sharp flake of rock breaks off, leaving a new, razor-sharp edge on the main stone. You repeat the process, each strike a precise calculation of force and angle. This isn't a brute force activity. This is a delicate art, a conversation between you and the stone. You are listening to the stone, feeling its natural fault lines, guiding it to reveal the tool that is hidden within. Each flake that breaks off is a potential tool in its own right, a small, sharp blade for cutting meat or scraping hides. Historians still argue whether early humans had a true mental template of what the final tool should look like, or if it was a more organic, reactive process. But for you, sitting there by the fire, it's a feeling, an instinct. You know when it's right. The goal is to create a hand axe, a multi-purpose tool that can be used for everything from butchering meat to chopping wood. You work for a long time. The rhythmic tapping of stone against stone, a soothing, repetitive sound that blends with the crackle of the fire. The process is slow and requires immense patience. You get a few splinters of rock in your hands, but you barely notice. You are completely absorbed in your work. A quirky tidbit. Some of the oldest stone tools ever found, dating back over 3 million years, were originally thought to be for butchering animals. But a new theory suggests they were actually used to smash open nuts and other hard-shelled plants. It makes sense, as a varied diet was key to survival. After what feels like an eternity, you hold up your finished product. It's not perfectly symmetrical, but it's sharp, and it fits comfortably in your hand. The edges are honed to a fine point, capable of slicing through tough hide with ease. You've created something from nothing, a piece of your will and your intellect made manifest in stone. This is a mainstream historical fact. The development of stone tools, known as the Old Owen and later Acheulean traditions, represents a monumental leap in human evolution. It's the moment we stopped being just animals and started becoming creators. You've joined a long and unbroken line of creators. You run your thumb carefully along the newly sharpened edge, a deep sense of pride and accomplishment filling you. This tool, this simple piece of rock, is your ticket to a safer, more predictable life. As the sun begins its slow descent, painting the sky in a riot of oranges and purples, you settle down near the fire, a new hand axe clutched in your hand. The air, once so damp and cool, is now thick with the scent of roasting meat and wood smoke. You watch as your mother and the other women of the tribe prepare the food, using your newly made tool to cut away the tougher parts of the rhinoceros hide. The sound of their work is a soft, rhythmic scraping that lulls you into a state of quiet contemplation. You feel a deep sense of peace, a rare luxury in a world that is so often loud and chaotic. But this peace is a fragile thing, and you know it. It's a thin veneer over a constant, gnawing awareness of danger. The world outside the circle of firelight is a world of predators, and you are always on your guard. Your tribe has a designated guard who stands watch near the entrance of the cave, their face illuminated by the flickering fire. This isn't a prestigious position, it's just a necessity. Tonight, it's your turn. You take your post, your hand resting on the smooth, cold stone of the cave wall. You watch the shadows dance and stretch, turning familiar trees into monstrous shapes. You listen to the sounds of the night, a symphony of chirps, rustles, and the occasional howl of a dire wolf. This is the soundtrack to your life, a constant reminder that you are not at the top of the food chain. You're just another piece of meat in a world full of hungry things. A mainstream historical fact is that early human survival was often a numbers game. Being part of a group, a tribe, was your single greatest advantage against the world's most dangerous creatures. A lone human was a snack, but a group of humans, armed with spears and fire, was a force to be reckoned with. Your tribe isn't large, maybe 20 people total, but you are a unit, a single organism with one purpose, to survive together. You remember a story your father told you, one he learned from his father. It was a story about a man who strayed too far from the tribe, lured by the promise of easy prey. He never came back. His fate was a cautionary tale, a lesson etched into the very fabric of your existence. You stick together, you watch out for each other, you survive. As you stand guard, you catch a glimpse of something moving in the darkness beyond the firelight. It's low to the ground, a sleek, shadowy shape that moves with a terrifying grace. Your heart begins to pound a frantic rhythm against your ribs. You raise your hand axe, its sharpened edge glinting in the firelight. The shape stops, its yellow eyes reflecting the fire like two small suns. It's a saber-toothed cat, a silent and deadly killer. It's not a monster from a story. It's a real, living thing, and it's staring directly at you. A quirky tidbit. Paleontologists have discovered that despite their massive fangs, saber-toothed cats likely had a weaker bite force than a modern lion. They probably used their immense body strength to pin their prey down before delivering a precise, fatal blow with those huge teeth, almost like a prehistoric scalpel. Which, is comforting. You don't panic. Panic gets you killed. Instead, you let out a low, guttural warning sound, a sound you've heard your father make 100 times. The sound alerts the other men of the tribe, and they emerge from the cave, their spears and stones at the ready. The cat hisses, a sound like a dozen snakes, and then, slowly, it backs away. It knows that this is not a meal worth the fight. It's not worth the risk of a spear in its flank. As it disappears into the darkness, you let out a long, shaky breath you didn't even realize you were holding. Historians still argue whether the saber-toothed cat was a solitary hunter or if they hunted in packs like lions, but in this moment, you don't care. All you know is that it's gone, and you and your tribe are safe. For now. The watch continues. The next morning, the world is a different place. The rain has washed the air clean, and the sky is a brilliant, cloudless blue. The sun, a warm and life-giving presence, is already high in the sky. Your watch ended sometime in the early hours, and you were able to catch a few hours of fitful sleep. Now, you're up and ready for the day, but today's task isn't about hunting or foraging. Today is about something that, in a world without maps or GPS, is even more important: navigation. Your tribe has decided to move on. The rhinoceros meat will only last so long, and the local resources, from berries to roots, are already starting to dwindle. It's time to find a new hunting ground, a new cave, a new temporary home. This nomadic life is all you've ever known. You don't have a permanent address. You don't have a deed to a patch of land. Your home is where your tribe is, and your tribe is always on the move. Your father, the leader, knows where to go. He has a map in his head, a complex network of rivers, mountains, and unique rock formations that he's built up over a lifetime of travel. You, as a younger member of the tribe, are still building your own mental map, a process that is both challenging and exhilarating. As you and the tribe pack up your few possessions, a few stone tools, a handful of animal hides, and some bone fragments, you think about the journey ahead. A quirky tidbit. Some scientists believe that the development of a strong sense of direction and spatial memory in early humans was a key factor in our survival and evolution. The ability to mentally map out a landscape, to remember the location of a specific watering hole or a field of edible plants, was a skill that separated the survivors from the the non-survivors. It was a cognitive leap that allowed us to exploit a wider range of resources and outcompete other hominids. You set out with the rest of the tribe, walking in a loose, single-file line. Your father leads the way, his eyes scanning the horizon, his feet moving with a confident purpose. You watch him closely, trying to memorize the landmarks he points out with a simple gesture. There's the jagged peak of a mountain that looks like a giant tooth. There's the winding path of a river that a flock of birds always follows. There's the ancient, gnarled tree that looks like a sleeping beast. These are your guideposts, your street signs in a world without streets. You learn to read the sun, not as a clock, but as a compass. The sun rises in one direction, sets in the other. It's a simple fact, but it's the foundation of your world. A mainstream historical fact is that early humans used a variety of methods for navigation, including celestial cues like the sun and stars, as well as terrestrial cues like landmarks and animal migration patterns. They were the original cartographers, and their maps were stored not on paper, but in their minds. The journey is long and tiring. You trudge through thick brush, ford cold streams, and climb over rocky outcrops. The children, your younger siblings among them, are carried on the backs of their mothers, their small faces peeking out from behind a curtain of matted fur. You feel the ache in your legs, the weight of the hide bag on your back. But you don't complain. To complain would be to show weakness, and weakness is a luxury you cannot afford. You keep your eyes on your father, watching his every move, every subtle shift in direction. You're learning, you're absorbing, you're building that mental map. Historians still argue whether early humans used a cognitive map or a simpler form of path integration, which is a fancy way of saying they just remembered the last few steps and walked in a straight line. But you know it's more than that. It's a feeling, a deep-seated intuition that tells you where to go. As the sun begins to set, your father points towards a cluster of rocks in the distance, a formation you've never seen before. "New home," he says, with a simple, tired gesture. You feel a wave of relief wash over you. You've made it. The new cave is smaller than your last one, but it's dry and well hidden from the prevailing winds. The entrance is a narrow slit in a cliff face, a natural defense against both the cold and any unwanted guests. As you and the tribe settle in, you find a new spot for the fire, and the rhythmic crackle of the flames soon fills the air, chasing away the damp chill. The familiar smells of wood smoke and roasting meat return, a comforting signal that you are, for the moment, safe. But a tribe is more than just a group of people living in the same cave. It's a complex web of relationships, a social structure with unwritten rules that you've been learning since you were a child. And your place in this web is defined by a lot more than just your age or your hunting ability. You are not the leader. That role belongs to your father. He's the one who makes the big decisions, the one who guides the tribe and keeps everyone safe. You watch as he distributes the day's catch, making sure everyone gets a fair share, from the youngest child to the oldest elder. He does this not out of a sense of duty, but because he knows that the survival of the tribe depends on everyone being strong and well fed. But he's not the only one with a role. The elders, the men and women whose bodies are no longer strong enough for the hunt, are the keepers of knowledge. They know which plants are safe to eat, how to treat a wound, and the stories of your ancestors. The women, the mothers and sisters, are the gatherers and the caretakers. They are the ones who process the meat and the hides, who prepare the food and care for the young. This is a mainstream historical fact, that early human social structures were often organized around a division of labor, with men typically taking on the more physically demanding tasks like hunting, and women handling gathering and childcare. And you? You are a hunter, a gatherer, a protector. You are a member of the tribe, a vital part of the whole. Your worth isn't measured in how much you own, but in how much you contribute. A quirky tidbit. Some anthropologists believe that the social bonds within a tribe were strengthened by something called alloparenting, where not just the mother, but also other members of the tribe, like grandmothers or older siblings, helped raise the children. It freed up the mothers to do other important work like foraging, and also ensured that the children, the future of the tribe, were well cared for. You remember watching your grandmother comforting a crying baby, rocking them gently until they fell asleep. It's a scene you've witnessed 100 times, a testament to the strength of your social bonds. You take your place in the circle around the fire, a small, quiet spot between your father and one of the other hunters. You feel the warmth of the fire on your skin, the warmth of the other people around you. You are part of something bigger than yourself, and that knowledge is a deep, profound comfort. There are no elections, no formal titles, no written laws. The rules are unwritten, passed down through generations of gestures and grunts, a silent language that everyone understands. You know that you must respect the elders, share your food, and protect the young. You know that to betray the tribe is to betray yourself. You are a part of this family, and their fate is your fate. Historians still argue whether early human societies were truly egalitarian or if there were more subtle power dynamics at play, but from your perspective, it feels like a collective. Everyone has a role, and everyone is valued. As you chew on a piece of roasted meat, you feel a sense of belonging, a feeling of being exactly where you're supposed to be. In this new cave, in this new place, you are home. As the fire dies down to a soft, glowing bed of embers, the sky outside the cave turns to an inky black, a vast canvas dotted with 1 billion tiny, winking lights. The air grows cold, and the only light comes from the small, warm circle of your tribe's fire. Now is the time for stories. This isn't the time for the tense, focused energy of the hunt or the quiet concentration of tool making. This is the time for connection, for the transmission of knowledge, for the simple human act of sharing. The elders, their faces etched with the wisdom of 100 seasons, are the storytellers. They are the living libraries, the repositories of all the tribe's knowledge. You huddle closer to the fire, pulling your animal hide tighter around you. The elder, a woman whose name you've never heard spoken aloud, she is simply elder, begins to speak. Her voice is low and raspy, a rhythmic cadence that seems to be a part of the fire's crackle. She speaks of the great mammoth hunt of her youth, a time when the snow was so deep it covered the tops of the trees. She uses a series of gestures and simple sounds, a language you all understand intuitively. She acts out the chase, the careful stalking, the moment of triumph. She shows you how they used every part of the mammoth, from the meat to the bones to the hide, a lesson in resourcefulness you've already learned, but which is always good to hear again. A mainstream historical fact is that oral tradition and storytelling were the primary ways that early humans passed down essential survival knowledge, from hunting techniques to medicinal plant identification. But not all of her stories are about hunting. She tells you a story about the stars, about a great hunter who was so fast he could catch a gazelle with his bare hands. He was so proud of his skill that he challenged the sun to a race. The sun, of course, was too fast for him, but as a consolation, the sun turned the hunter into a constellation, forever chasing the sun across the sky. It's a charming, simple story, a way of making sense of the incomprehensible universe. Historians still argue whether these early myths were simply entertaining tales, or if they served a deeper, more important social function, like teaching moral lessons or reinforcing tribal values. But for you, sitting there in the firelight, it's a moment of wonder, a moment of connection to something larger than your tribe, larger than the cave, larger even than the vast, star-filled sky. You watch your younger sister, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and fascination, as the elder tells a story about a great, shadowy beast that comes out at night to steal away bad children. It's a gentle warning, a way of keeping the young ones close to the cave and out of danger. A quirky tidbit is that some of these early folk tales and myths have been passed down through generations and can still be found in the oral traditions of some indigenous cultures today, albeit in a much altered form. The fear of a boogeyman, a creature in the dark, is a universal human experience, and it's comforting to know that your ancestors were grappling with the same fears you do. As the stories continue, you feel the boundaries between yourself and your tribe begin to blur. You are all one, a collective mind, sharing in the same history, the same stories, the same fears and triumphs. You feel a deep sense of belonging, a feeling that no matter how difficult the world outside the cave is, you will always have this circle, this fire, this family. The storytelling ends, the fire crackles down to a whisper, and you all drift off to sleep, your dreams filled with the hunts and the myths, the lessons and the laughter of the night. The morning light finds you still in the cave, but the peaceful slumber has given way to the familiar anxieties of a new day. The fire has been banked, a small plume of smoke drifting lazily towards the cave entrance. The air is cool and a little damp, and the world outside is already stirring with a million unseen movements. Today, you're not going on a big hunt or a long journey. Today is about something more subtle, but just as vital to your survival: communication. You're a part of a small tribe, and you communicate in a way that is simple, direct, and incredibly effective. You don't have a vast vocabulary. Your language is a mix of a few dozen sounds, a complex array of gestures, and a deep, intuitive understanding of each other's facial expressions and body language. When your father wants you to follow him, he doesn't say, "Follow me." He turns, catches your eye, and makes a simple gesture with his hand, a small flick of the wrist that means come this way. When you're hungry, you place a hand on your stomach and make a low, rumbling sound, a message that is universally understood. Historians still argue whether early human language was a complex system of phonemes or a more rudimentary form of communication tied to gestures and mimicry. But for you, it's a seamless, natural process. This system of communication is a mainstream historical fact, the foundation of every language you've ever heard. It's the raw material from which all of our words and sentences are built. Early humans, like you, needed to communicate complex ideas like the herd of mammoths is moving towards the watering hole, or the dangerous saber-toothed cat has been seen near the berries. You do this not with a sentence, but with a series of quick, efficient gestures. You point in the direction of the herd, you make a large, round shape with your hands for the watering hole, and you make a low, growling sound to signify the cat. It's a game of charades with life or death stakes. A quirky tidbit: Some researchers believe that the development of a complex gestural language actually preceded spoken language. They theorize that early humans communicated primarily with their hands and faces before the parts of the brain needed for speech fully developed. This makes a lot of sense when you think about it. It's hard to speak while your mouth is full of food, but you can still point and gesture. You remember a time your father was teaching you how to make a spearhead. He didn't use words to describe it. He showed you, his hands moving with a practiced grace, guiding your own hands until you got the motion just right. The lesson was learned not through a lecture, but through observation and imitation, a process that is both ancient and deeply human. Later in the morning, a few other members of the tribe are leaving to forage for berries. They point towards a distant hill, a place you've been to before. You know what they're asking. Is the area safe? You shake your head, making a quick gesture for no. You remember seeing tracks of a large predatory bird there a few days ago, a bird large enough to carry off a small child. You make a flapping motion with your hands, and they understand immediately. They nod in gratitude and change their course, heading in a different direction. You've saved them from potential danger without a single word, just a few quick gestures and a shared understanding of the world around you. You feel a small sense of pride. You are not just a part of this tribe. You are a vital part of its collective intelligence, a living database of information that helps everyone stay alive. The afternoon finds you back inside the cave, the sunlight a broad yellow smear on the cave floor. The air is still and a little dusty, thick with the smell of old smoke and stone. The tribe is resting, their bellies full of meat and berries. But a few of the elders are not resting. They are at the far end of the cave, in a section that is always a little darker, a little colder, and you feel a pull to join them. This is the art studio, the silent library, the museum of your people. You walk over, your bare feet making no sound on the dusty stone floor. The cave walls here are not just rock, they are a canvas, a living document of your tribe's history. The elders are working on a new painting, a depiction of the great woolly rhinoceros hunt from 2 days ago. They aren't using brushes or canvas, of course. They're using their hands, and a mixture of natural pigments, ground up ochre for red and yellow, charcoal from the fire for black, and a fine white clay for, well, white. This is a mainstream historical fact that early humans used a variety of natural materials to create the famous cave paintings you've heard about. They're a window into a world that no longer exists, a testament to the lives and beliefs of our ancestors. You watch as one of the elders, a woman with gnarled, strong hands, dips her fingers into a small bowl of ochre. She then presses her hand against the wall, leaving a perfect red imprint. She is not just making a painting. She is leaving her mark, a physical record of her existence. You've left your own handprint on the wall, a small, faded print next to your father's and 25's. It's a humbling thought that your hand, your very existence, is now a part of this endless timeline. Historians still argue whether the purpose of these paintings was purely decorative or if they had a deeper, magical or ritualistic function. Some believe they were a way of influencing the hunt, a form of sympathetic magic where by painting a successful hunt, you could ensure a successful hunt in real life. But for you, watching the elders work, it feels more like a memory, a story being told in color and shape rather than in gestures and sounds. The elder begins to paint the rhinoceros, not as you saw it, but as a series of powerful, simplified lines. She captures its massive bulk, its thick coat of fur, its deadly horn, all with a few strokes of her hand. A quirky tidbit. Some of these ancient cave paintings show animals with multiple legs, which some art historians believe was an early attempt to show movement or to create a kind of primitive animation. It's a fascinating thought that your ancestors were already thinking about how to bring their art to life. You watch, mesmerized, as the hunt from your memory becomes a permanent part of the cave wall. You remember the sound of the rhinoceros's roar, the feel of the rain on your skin, the moment of triumph when it finally fell. And now, all of that emotion, all of that memory, is being captured here, for all to see, for all to remember. As you stand there, a small, quiet part of this grand artistic tradition, you feel a deep sense of connection to your people, to your past, and to your future. You are a link in an unbroken chain of storytellers, and your life, your hunts, your triumphs, will one day be a part of this same wall. It's a reassuring thought, a feeling that your life has meaning beyond the simple act of survival. You may be a caveman, living in a world of danger and uncertainty, but you are also an artist, a storyteller, and a part of something that will last long after your bones have turned to dust. The painting is finished, and you stand back, a feeling of awe washing over you. It's beautiful, and it's yours. It's a memory, a history, a legacy, all in one. You spend the rest of the day in the cave, resting, gnawing on a bone, and watching the embers of the fire glow. But as night begins to fall and the air grows colder, a different kind of drama unfolds. A young boy, one of the smaller children, has come back from foraging with a deep gash on his leg. He's been scrambling over some sharp rocks, and he's cut himself badly. It's a deep, angry-looking wound that's already beginning to swell and turn a dark, mottled red. The boy is crying, a low, whimpering sound that tugs at your heart. You can see the fear in his eyes, a fear you've seen 100 times. A fear of the unknown, of the pain, of the possibility of death. In a world without hospitals, without doctors, a simple cut can be a death sentence. Infection, as you have learned from experience, is a silent and deadly killer. Your mother, a woman who has a quiet, innate authority, takes charge. She isn't a doctor, of course. There are no doctors. She is simply a woman who has lived long enough to know a few things about the world and the way things work. She has a deep, intuitive knowledge of the plants and the earth, a knowledge that has been passed down from her mother and her mother's mother. She gathers a few leaves from a specific plant, one you've seen her use before, and she chews them into a pulp. The leaves have a bitter, acrid smell. You've heard a story that this plant is a gift from the sky, a reward for the tribe's courage. Historians still argue whether early medicinal practices were based on empirical observation or purely on spiritual beliefs, but you know that in your tribe, it's a mixture of both. It's an act of faith and an act of knowledge. She takes the pulp and gently packs it into the boy's wound. The boy winces, but he stops crying. The pulp seems to soothe the pain, a small, quiet miracle. She then takes a long, thin strip of animal hide and wraps it tightly around the wound, a simple bandage to hold the pulp in place. It's a painstaking process, a delicate dance of careful hands and ancient knowledge. You watch her, mesmerized. A mainstream historical fact is that early humans used a variety of natural remedies to treat wounds and illnesses, including plant-based poultices, mud packs, and even rudimentary splints for broken bones. This was the dawn of medicine, the very first steps on a long journey that would one day lead to antibiotics and surgery. You can think of your mother as the world's first pharmacist and surgeon, all rolled into one. A quirky tidbit. Some of these early remedies were incredibly effective. For example, some early hominids were found to be using a type of tree sap as an antiseptic, a natural substance that had powerful antimicrobial properties. Your mother's poultice might not be as effective as a modern antibiotic, but it's a lot better than nothing. As she finishes wrapping the wound, she looks at you. Her eyes are tired, but there is a deep, quiet resolve in them. She doesn't need to say a word. The message is clear. This is how we survive. We don't just hunt and gather, we heal. We care for each other. We use the knowledge we have to keep our tribe together. You look at the boy, who is now sleeping soundly, his face pale but peaceful. You feel a wave of gratitude for your mother, for her knowledge, for her care. In a world that is so often brutal and unforgiving, this small act of healing is a powerful reminder of your tribe's resilience and humanity. You are not just a collection of individuals, you are a community, and you will do whatever it takes to protect your own. The days pass, a blur of routine and survival. You hunt, you forage, you gather around the fire for stories. The boy's leg is healing well, a testament to your mother's knowledge. But a new change is in the air. The sky, once a brilliant blue, is now a constant leaden grey. The air, once cool and crisp, is now bitter and biting. The plants that were so plentiful just a few weeks ago have withered and died, their branches brittle and bare. The animals, once so common, have become scarce. Their tracks a rare and precious find. A cold dread settles in your stomach, a familiar pang that has nothing to do with hunger. Winter is coming. You've experienced winter before, of course. You've seen the snow fall, covering the world in a blanket of white, but every winter feels like the first. It's a season of scarcity, of hardship, of constant, gnawing hunger. It's a time when a simple slip on a patch of ice can mean a broken leg and a slow, painful death. It's a time when you and your tribe must huddle together for warmth, a time when the fire, your most precious resource, becomes even more important. A mainstream historical fact is that for early humans in temperate climates, winter was a period of extreme hardship. The availability of food plummeted and the risk of hypothermia and illness soared. It was a brutal test of a tribe's resilience and a constant reminder of their place in the natural world. The tribe is preparing for the coming cold. You and the other men are spending your days hunting, not for a single meal, but for a store of food that will get you through the lean months. You're trying to find a large animal, a mammoth or a bison, a beast whose meat and fat can be preserved for later. You're also busy gathering wood, a massive pile of logs that will hopefully last the winter. A quirky tidbit. Some early humans learned to preserve meat by drying it in the sun or by salting it with natural salt deposits they found near certain rocks, a primitive form of jerky that provided a vital source of protein during the long, cold winter. It wasn't delicious, but it kept you alive. You watch your father, his face grim with concentration, as he directs the other hunters. He's a different person in the winter. The relaxed, easygoing leader of the summer is gone, replaced by a man who is constantly on edge, constantly aware of the dangers that surround him. He knows that this winter will test the tribe in ways that nothing else can. He knows that some of you may not survive. You've seen it happen before. A child too weak to fight off a fever, an elder too frail to withstand the cold. Historians still argue whether early humans used caves primarily as a winter shelter or as a year-round home. But for you, in this moment, the cave is your sanctuary, your only protection against the harsh, unforgiving world outside. As the first snowflakes begin to fall, you feel a deep sense of resignation. You've done all you can. You've hunted, you've gathered, you've prepared. Now, all you can do is wait. The wind begins to howl, a low, mournful sound that seems to mourn the end of summer. You pull your hide blanket tighter, the coarse fur a rough comfort against your skin. The fire, your one constant companion, is now a fierce, roaring presence, its flames a defiant challenge to the encroaching cold. As you watch the snow begin to accumulate outside the cave, you feel a deep, quiet resolve. You will survive this. You have to. Your tribe is counting on you. The winter has settled in with a vengeance. The world outside is a stark, black and white landscape, a world of ice and snow. The days are short, the nights are long, and the constant, biting cold is a physical presence, a weight on your bones. The hunt has become a rare and dangerous event, a desperate scramble for food that often ends in frustration and disappointment. The tribe is huddled together in the cave, the fire a low, flickering presence that provides more psychological comfort than actual heat. But even in the midst of this hardship, you find small moments of joy, of simple, unadulterated pleasure that remind you of your humanity. You're sitting by the fire, scraping the last bit of meat from a bone. The bone is old and tough, but the taste of the fat and marrow is a delicious, buttery treat. You see your younger sister, wrapped in a hide blanket, her face lit up by the firelight. She is playing with a small, smooth stone, a perfect, egg-shaped rock she found by the river in the summer. She tosses it into the air and catches it, a simple game that provides her with endless entertainment. It's a small, quiet moment of beauty, a testament to the resilience of a child's spirit. You smile, a genuine, unforced smile that feels foreign on your face after so many weeks of grim determination. A quirky tidbit. Some of the earliest archaeological finds include small, polished stones and carved animal bones that were clearly not tools, but rather objects of personal adornment or toys for children. These simple objects, like your sister's stone, are a powerful reminder that our ancestors weren't just grim-faced survivalists. They were also beings who sought out beauty, who found joy in play, who cared about things that had no direct bearing on their survival. It's a testament to the fact that we've always been more than just our needs. We've always been creators and dreamers. You watch as your mother uses a sharpened piece of bone to carve a small, intricate design into a piece of wood. It's a series of zigzags and circles, a pattern you've seen on the cave walls and on the hide blankets. It's a work of art, a small, beautiful thing created for no other reason than the joy of creation. She's not making a tool or a weapon, she's making something beautiful. It's a mainstream historical fact that early humans had a deep appreciation for aesthetics, creating not just useful tools, but also decorative objects like beads, bracelets, and bone flutes. These objects tell us that our ancestors had a rich inner life, a world of art and music that existed alongside the constant struggle for survival. As the wind howls outside the cave, you look at your family, your tribe. You see your father, his hand resting on the hilt of his stone axe, ever vigilant. You see the elders, their faces full of a quiet strength. You see the children, their faces peaceful in sleep. You feel a deep, abiding love for these people, these simple, flawed, magnificent people who are your family. You think about the warm sun on your skin in the summer, the taste of a ripe berry, the thrill of a successful hunt. These are the moments that make the struggle worthwhile. Historians still argue whether early human societies had a concept of happiness or if their lives were simply a relentless struggle. But in this moment, watching your sister play with her stone, feeling the warmth of the fire on your face, you know that happiness, in its simplest, purest form, has always been a part of the human experience. The long, dark winter days are slowly starting to lose their grip. The sun, once a pale ghost in the sky, is now beginning to show some strength. The snow is melting in some places, revealing the damp, black earth beneath. The air, though still cold, has a new smell, the smell of thawing earth, of new life, of a promise of spring. The tribe's spirits are lifting, a quiet, almost imperceptible change in their demeanor. The gnawing hunger is still there, of course, but it's no longer the all-consuming monster it was a few weeks ago. The hunt is becoming more frequent, and the forays for food are more successful. The world is beginning to wake up, and so are you. With the snow melting, a new challenge presents itself. Water. In the winter, you could melt snow and ice for water. It was a tedious process that required a lot of wood for the fire, but it was a reliable source. Now, with the melting snow, the ground is a soggy mess, and the streams are swollen with a mixture of melted snow and spring rain. Finding clean, safe drinking water is a new and urgent priority. You've been drinking from the streams, but you know that the moving water can carry a lot of dirt and, other gross stuff. A mainstream historical fact is that finding a clean water source was a constant, daily challenge for early humans, who lacked the knowledge of waterborne pathogens. A seemingly clear stream could be teeming with microscopic life that would make you violently ill, or even kill you. You and a few other members of the tribe are sent out to find a reliable water source. You follow the sound of the rushing water, your feet sinking into the muddy earth with every step. You come to a wide river, its banks overflowing with a turbulent, muddy mess. The water is a dark, churning brown, filled with debris from the thawing landscape. It's clearly not safe to drink, but you know that somewhere there must be a better source. You've heard stories from the elders about places where water comes straight from the ground, clear and cold, a gift from the earth itself. Historians still argue whether early humans had a concept of groundwater, or if they simply learned through trial and error that some water sources were safer than others. But for you, it's a matter of life and death. You follow a small tributary upstream, away from the main river. The tributary is less muddy, its water a clearer, more inviting grey. As you walk, you notice a strange smell in the air, a smell of sulfur, of rotten eggs. It's not a pleasant smell, but you know what it means. It means you're close to a spring. You continue to follow the smell, your heart beating a little faster with every step. A quirky tidbit. Many early human settlements were found near natural springs or geysers, as these sources often provided a constant supply of fresh, clean water. It wasn't a matter of luck, it was a matter of knowing where to look. Finally, you find it. A small, clear pool of water, bubbling up from a crack in the rock. The water is ice cold and has a slightly mineral taste to it, but it's perfectly clear. You scoop a handful of it to your mouth, the cold water a jolt to your senses. It tastes clean, pure. You fill your water skins, a deep sense of relief washing over you. You have found a new source of life for your tribe. You will lead them here, to this spring, this quiet little miracle in a world of mud and ice. You turn and begin the journey back, a new sense of purpose in your step. You are not just a survivor, you are a provider. And for today, that is enough. The spring becomes your new hub, a place of gathering and life. For the next few days, the tribe drinks and bathes in its cold, clean waters, a welcome respite from the mud and the grime of the long winter. The sense of relief is palpable, a quiet joy that settles over everyone. The sun is now a constant, warm presence, and the world is slowly, hesitantly beginning to bloom again. The plants are pushing new shoots from the thawed earth, and the birds are returning, their songs a beautiful, welcome cacophony. The long winter, a season of fear and hunger, is finally over. But the world isn't just about your tribe. It's a big, strange place, full of things you don't understand and people you've never met. One afternoon, as you're gathering wood near the spring, you hear a sound that makes you freeze. It's not the sound of a bird or a bear or any animal you know. It's a new sound, a foreign sound. It's a guttural, human-like voice, but the words, the sounds, are not your own. Your heart begins to pound a frantic rhythm against your ribs. You drop the wood you were carrying and creep silently towards the sound, your hand resting on the hilt of your stone knife. A mainstream historical fact is that early human groups would have frequently encountered other hominid tribes, leading to a complex mixture of conflict, cooperation, and even interbreeding. It's a testament to our shared history that we're all, to some degree, a result of these ancient meetings. You peer through a thicket of ferns and see them. Another tribe. They're a small group, maybe a dozen people, and they're just on the other side of the spring. They look similar to you, but there are subtle differences. Their clothes are made of a different animal hide, their tools are shaped differently, and their faces have a different look to them. They're laughing, a sound that is both familiar and alien. You see a man, a leader like your father, making a quick gesture with his hand, a gesture you don't understand. A quirky tidbit. Some of these ancient encounters may have led to the exchange of knowledge and tools. Different tribes likely had different ways of doing things, and an encounter could be a chance to learn a new hunting technique or a better way to make a fire. You feel a mix of emotions, fear, curiosity, and a deep, primal sense of territoriality. This is your spring. This is your territory. What are they doing here? You stand there for a long time, frozen in the thicket, watching them. They seem to be talking amongst themselves, their voices a low, unintelligible murmur. You see one of the men make a movement with his hand, a slow, circular motion, and you realize that he's trying to convey the idea of a herd of bison. You feel a small jolt of understanding. You don't speak their language, but you understand their gestures. Historians still argue whether early human societies were mostly hostile towards outsiders, or if they were more welcoming and open to new ideas. But in this moment, you feel a deep uncertainty. Are they a threat? Are they friends? Are they something in between? You back away slowly, silently, and make your way back to your tribe. You find your father and tell him, with gestures and sounds, what you have seen. You make a gesture for many, for human, for strangers. His face hardens, his hand goes to his axe. The tribe falls silent, a sudden, tense quiet that hangs in the air. The joy and relief of the spring are gone, replaced by the ancient, animal fear of the unknown. The spring, once a place of life, is now a place of potential conflict. The world has opened up, and with it, a new kind of danger. The news of the other tribe hangs in the air, a thick, palpable tension that settles over your people. The spring is now an object of suspicion. Your tribe gathers together, not for a celebratory feast, but for a tense, hushed meeting. Your father, ever the leader, is calm but firm. He's not advocating for war, not yet. He knows that a fight would be a costly affair, a loss of valuable hunters and gatherers that your small tribe can't afford. The other tribe is a threat, but they are also a potential source of something new, something that might help you survive. He makes a series of gestures, a story told in silence. He holds up two hands, makes a gesture for many, and then for trade. He's proposing a parley, a meeting, an exchange. You are chosen to go with him. You're young, but you're a good hunter, and you know the land well. You, your father, and one of the other elders approach the spring, your hands held open and empty, a universal sign of peace. The other tribe is still there, huddled together. They fall silent as you approach, their faces a mask of suspicion and curiosity. Their leader, a man with a thick beard and a powerful build, steps forward. He mirrors your father's gesture, his hands held open. The two leaders stand in the center of the clearing, a small, fragile bridge between two worlds. A mainstream historical fact is that early human groups would often engage in trade or exchange with other tribes. This wasn't always a peaceful process, but the benefits of sharing resources and knowledge often outweighed the risks of conflict. These early forms of exchange were the very first steps towards the global trade networks we have today. The conversation is a beautiful and bizarre dance of gestures and mimicry. Your father holds up a piece of flint, a beautiful, polished stone that has been worked into a perfect hand axe. The other leader nods, his eyes wide with admiration. He then holds up a strange object, a small piece of wood with a hook on the end, a primitive fishing tool. He mimics the act of catching a fish, a gesture that makes perfect sense to you. He is offering to trade his fishing tool for your tribe's hand axe. This is a moment of pure, unadulterated genius. Your tribe has plenty of stone, but the river is a new source of food you've never fully exploited. Their tribe has fishing tools, but maybe not as good of tools for hunting on the land. The trade is made. The fishing tool is passed to your father, and the hand axe to their leader. A quirky tidbit: some of these early trade routes covered vast distances, with tools and materials being traded across hundreds of miles. This suggests that these early human groups were far more interconnected than we once thought. They weren't isolated islands, but a part of a larger, global network. You watch as your father and the other leader continue to talk, their gestures growing more relaxed, a shared understanding beginning to form between them. They are no longer two different tribes. They are two people, two leaders, trying to make a better life for their people. Historians still argue whether these early forms of trade were based on a concept of fairness, or if they were a more opportunistic exchange, with the stronger tribe taking advantage of the weaker one. But in this moment, you feel a deep sense of shared humanity. You see a woman from their tribe with a child on her back, and you smile at her. She smiles back, a small, tentative smile. You are not so different after all. You all want the same thing, to survive. The encounter ends with a shared, guttural sound of safe, and you walk back to your tribe, a new fishing tool in your hand and a new sense of hope in your heart. The encounter with the other tribe leaves a new energy in the air. The fishing tool proves to be an incredible boon, providing a new source of food and a sense of shared purpose. The tense silence around the fire is replaced with the chattering of the tribe, their hands busy crafting new fishing hooks from bone. The sun is now a constant, warm presence, and the world is alive with the promise of spring. But as night falls and the stars begin to emerge, a different kind of energy takes over, a spiritual energy. This is the time for rituals, for connecting with the unseen forces of the world. Your tribe, like every tribe, has a complex set of beliefs about the world. You believe that the great spirits of the animals, the mammoth, the bison, the rhinoceros, watch over you. You believe that the spirits of your ancestors, the ones whose handprints are on the cave walls, are still with you, guiding you and protecting you. Tonight, you are having a ritual to thank the spirits for the successful winter and to ask for a good spring. Your mother, the elder who healed the boy's leg, is the spiritual leader, the shaman of your tribe. She is the one who speaks to the spirits, the one who guides you through the ritual. She lights a small fire in a depression in the cave floor. Its smoke, a thin, white plume that drifts towards the ceiling. She begins to hum, a low, rhythmic sound that seems to vibrate through the very stone of the cave. She is not speaking with words, but with a feeling, a sound that is both ancient and deeply human. A mainstream historical fact is that early human societies were deeply spiritual, with many believing in an animistic worldview where spirits inhabited not just people and animals, but also objects and natural phenomena. These beliefs were often expressed through rituals, dances, and symbolic art, like the cave paintings you made earlier. You and the rest of the tribe gather around her, your faces lit by the fire. You hum along, your voice joining the chorus, a single, collective sound that fills the cave. She begins to move, a slow, deliberate dance that mimics the movements of the animals you hunt. She is not just dancing, she is becoming them, embodying their power and their spirit. A quirky tidbit is that some of these rituals were incredibly physically demanding, with shamans dancing for hours or even days to enter a trance-like state where they could communicate with the spirit world. It was a form of spiritual athleticism, a testament to the depth of their belief. As she dances, you feel a deep sense of connection, a feeling that you are a part of something much larger than yourself. You feel the spirits of your ancestors, the spirits of the animals, all around you, a benevolent, protective presence. You close your eyes and imagine the great mammoth, its powerful legs, its massive tusks. You imagine the swiftness of the gazelle, the cunning of the wolf. You feel a wave of gratitude wash over you, a feeling of being a small but vital part of a great cosmic dance. Historians still argue whether these early spiritual practices were a form of proto-religion or simply a way of making sense of a chaotic and often terrifying world. But for you, in this moment, it doesn't matter. You are not thinking with your mind, you are feeling with your soul. The dance ends, and your mother falls to the ground, exhausted but triumphant. You and the rest of the tribe are silent for a moment, and then a great wave of relief washes over you. The spirits have heard you. The spring will be good, the tribe will be safe. The spiritual ritual fades into the quiet rhythm of the night. The smoke from the small fire still hangs in the air, a faint, wispy reminder of the connection you've just felt. The tribe is once again gathered around the main fire, a new sense of peace and optimism in the air. The season of scarcity and fear is over, and the season of plenty is on the horizon. But even with full bellies and a warm fire, the need to connect, to share, to learn is still strong. This is the time for storytelling, not just the myths and legends of the spirits, but the history of your people. Your father is the storyteller tonight. His voice is a low, rumbling baritone, a sound that is both comforting and commanding. He is telling the story of your tribe's journey, the long migration from the south to this land. He speaks of the great river, a body of water so wide you couldn't see the other side. He speaks of the great beasts they fought, the saber-toothed cats and the dire wolves. He speaks of the hardships they faced, the starvation, the illness, the loss. But he also speaks of the triumphs, the successful hunts, the births of new children, the finding of new, safe caves. It's a story you've heard 100 times, but it never gets old. Every time he tells it, you learn something new, a new detail, a new nuance. A mainstream historical fact is that storytelling, or oral tradition, was the primary method of transmitting history, culture, and practical knowledge from one generation to the next in early human societies. It was the human equivalent of a history book, a living, breathing record of your people. You remember him telling the story about the Great Flood, a time when the rains never stopped and the river rose up to swallow the land. He tells it with a series of gestures, his hands moving to mimic the rising water, the terrified cries of the animals. It's a terrifying story, but it has a point. He's teaching you a lesson about the power of nature, a lesson about the importance of being prepared for the worst. Historians still argue whether these early flood myths were based on actual events or were simply a way of explaining the power of a natural force they couldn't understand. But for you, it doesn't matter. The lesson is what's important. He also tells a story about a different kind of animal, a small, furry creature that lived in the trees. The creature was a pest, constantly stealing the tribe's food. But instead of killing it, your tribe learned to watch it. They learned that the creature was incredibly intelligent, that it could find food and water in places your tribe never thought to look. A quirky tidbit here is that some evidence suggests early humans learned a lot about their environment and survival from observing other animals, a process known as biomimicry. It's a testament to the fact that you weren't just the hunters, you were also the students of the world around you. As your father's story winds down, you feel a deep sense of connection to the past. You are a link in an unbroken chain of human beings stretching back thousands of years. The people he is talking about, the people who fought the great beasts and survived the great flood, are your ancestors. They are a part of you, and you are a part of them. You feel a new sense of responsibility, a feeling that one day you too will be telling these stories to your own children, passing on the history of your people, a history that is not written in books, but in the memories of your heart. The stories of your ancestors fill the cave, a symphony of triumphs and hardships that lulls you into a state of quiet contemplation. The fire crackles and pops, It's light dancing across the faces of your family. You watch them, these people who are your world, and you feel a deep, abiding sense of love and connection. You've always known that your survival depends on the tribe, on this small, tight-knit community. But you're starting to understand that it's more than just a matter of survival. It's a matter of family. You see your mother, her face serene in the firelight. She is the one who brought you into this world, the one who fed you, who protected you, who taught you the simple rules of life. You see your father, the leader, the hunter, the protector. He taught you how to track an animal, how to sharpen a stone, how to be strong in the face of fear. You see your younger siblings, their faces peaceful in sleep. They are your responsibility, the future of your tribe, the ones you will one day tell these same stories to. This is a mainstream historical fact, that the nuclear and extended family was the foundational unit of early human society, providing a support system for survival and a framework for passing down knowledge. The bonds of family are not just a social construct, they are a biological imperative. You feel a deep, primal need to protect these people, to ensure their survival, to make their lives a little bit easier. It's a feeling that goes beyond logic, a feeling that is etched into the very core of your being. You remember a time when a bear cub wandered too close to the cave. Its mother, a huge, angry beast, was not far behind. Your father and the other men grabbed their spears, ready to fight. But it was your mother and the other women who made the most noise, their high-pitched screams and wild gestures scaring the mother bear away. It was a moment that showed you that family isn't just about the strong protecting the weak. It's about everyone protecting everyone else, a symphony of cooperation and love. A quirky tidbit. Some anthropologists believe that the intense social bonds of early human family units were a key factor in our cognitive development. The need to communicate complex ideas, to teach and to learn, fostered the growth of our brains. So, in a way, your love for your family is directly tied to your intelligence. It's a humbling and beautiful thought that the most complex part of your being is a direct result of the most simple and pure part of your being. Historians still argue whether early human family structures were monogamous or polygamous, or if they were more communal. But for you, it's a simple fact. This is your family. These are your people. As the fire dies down to a soft, glowing bed of embers, you feel a deep sense of peace. The world outside may be dangerous and uncertain, but in here, in the warm, dark safety of the cave, you are surrounded by love. You are a part of a family, a part of a tribe, a part of a long, unbroken chain of humanity stretching back to the dawn of time. You close your eyes, the image of your family a comforting presence in your mind, the sounds of their breathing, the soft crackle of the fire, the quiet rhythm of the night. It's all a lullaby, a beautiful, ancient song that sings you to sleep. The winter has passed, a distant, terrifying memory. The air is warm and smells of damp earth and new leaves. The sun is a bright, comforting presence in the sky. The hunting is good, the gathering is plentiful, and the tribe is strong and healthy. Life, in all its brutal simplicity, is good. But as you walk through the newly green landscape, you notice something new, something that changes your world in a fundamental way. You notice a small patch of ground near the river, where a few of the elders are working, their hands dirty with soil. They are not gathering food, they are planting it. You watch, intrigued, as an elder carefully places a small seed into a hole she has dug in the ground. She then covers it with a gentle pat of her hand, a small, reverent gesture. They're trying to grow their own food. This is a mainstream historical fact that will one day be called the Neolithic Revolution, a monumental shift from a nomadic hunter-gatherer lifestyle to a settled agricultural one. It's the dawn of farming, the beginning of a process that will eventually lead to villages, cities, and the world as you know it. Historians still argue whether this transition was a sudden revolution or a slow, gradual evolution. But for you, watching the elders work, it feels like a revelation. You've always been a hunter and a gatherer, a person who takes what the world gives them. But these elders are trying to change the world. They are trying to shape it, to control it, to make it produce what they want. They're not just taking a single berry from a bush. They are planting a seed that will one day produce 100 berries. They are taking a risk, a leap of faith. It's a new way of thinking, a new way of living. A quirky tidbit is that some of the earliest evidence of agriculture suggests that it wasn't just about food. Some of the first plants to be domesticated were used for making alcoholic beverages, a fun way to socialize and pass the time. It's comforting to know that even with a paradigm shift like this, humans are still going to find a way to relax. You sit and watch them work, your mind reeling with the implications. If you can grow your own food, you don't have to follow the herds. You don't have to constantly be on the move. You can stay in one place, build a permanent home, a permanent shelter. You can store your food, prepare for the lean seasons. The world, once a vast, unpredictable wilderness, is suddenly starting to feel a little smaller, a little more controllable. The endless cycle of hunting, gathering, and migrating is broken, replaced by a new, more sedentary way of life. Your father comes and sits next to you, watching the elders work. He's a hunter, a man of the old ways. He doesn't say anything, but you can see the conflict in his eyes. He understands the power of what they are doing, but he also feels a deep, primal fear of change. The old ways, the ways of the hunt and the migration, have kept your tribe alive for as long as anyone can remember. Are these new ways safe? Are they a betrayal of your ancestors, the ones whose spirits watch over you? You don't have the answers. All you know is that the world is changing, and you are a part of that change. And as you watch the elders work, you feel a deep, quiet sense of awe. They are not just planting seeds, they are planting the future. The new ways, the ways of the planted seed, are not without their challenges. The world, it turns out, is still a dangerous and unpredictable place, no matter how many seeds you plant. The harvest is not as bountiful as you had hoped. A long, dry spell, a summer without rain, has scorched the ground and withered the young plants. The river, once a source of life, is now a slow, muddy trickle. The animals, sensing the coming hardship, have moved on. Their tracks a rare and precious find. The gnawing hunger, a monster you thought you had defeated, is back. The tribe is in a state of quiet desperation. The faces around the fire are no longer filled with the quiet optimism of spring. They are now filled with a grim, weary determination. The children are hungrier, their cries more frequent. The elders, who were so confident in their new way of life, are now silent, their heads bowed in shame. A mainstream historical fact is that the transition to agriculture was not a smooth one. Early farming communities were often more vulnerable to famine than their hunter-gatherer counterparts, as a single bad harvest could wipe out their entire food supply. This was the dark side of settled life, a new kind of risk that you are now facing firsthand. Your father, the leader, is a man torn between two worlds. He is a hunter, a man of the old ways. He wants to lead the tribe on a great hunt, to follow the animals to their new feeding grounds, to abandon this new, fragile way of life. But he also sees the wisdom in the elders' plan. To leave now would be to abandon the seeds, to abandon the future. He stands in the center of the cave, his face a mask of conflict. Historians still argue whether early human leaders were charismatic figures or simply the most experienced members of the tribe. But you know that in this moment, your father is both. He is a leader of men, but he is also a man of deep, profound doubt. You are a young hunter, a man of the new world, but the old instincts still run deep in your veins. You feel the pull of the hunt, the call of the open road. You miss the thrill of the chase, the feeling of the sun on your skin as you track a herd of bison. But you also feel a sense of loyalty to the elders, to their vision of a new, better way of life. You are a man caught between the past and the future, and you don't know which one to choose. A quirky tidbit is that some evidence suggests that early farming communities would supplement their harvests with occasional hunting and gathering, a sort of hybrid lifestyle that allowed them to mitigate the risks of agriculture. It was a compromise, a way of holding on to the old ways while embracing the new. One evening, as the fire burns low, you watch as your father and the elders have a quiet, intense conversation. It is a debate not just about what to do, but about who you are. Are you hunters, or are you farmers? Are you a people of the past, or a people of the future? You don't know the answer. All you know is that the hunger is a constant presence, a monster that lives inside you. The struggle for survival, a struggle you thought you had won, is back. The world, once so full of promise, is now a harsh, unforgiving place. And you, a small, insignificant part of this great human drama, are left to wonder what tomorrow will bring. The long, dry spell finally breaks. The rain comes, a soft, life-giving shower that soaks the parched earth and fills the riverbed. The tribe, once so downtrodden and desperate, is now filled with a new sense of hope. The elders' crops, a fragile hope a few weeks ago, are now starting to thrive, their green shoots a vibrant symbol of a new beginning. The animals, sensing the return of the water and the new growth, are also returning, their tracks once again a common sight. The crisis is over, for now, and with it comes a new idea, a new way of life that will change your tribe forever. Your father, the leader, the hunter, has made a decision. He has gathered the tribe together, his face grim with a quiet determination. He tells you that the time of the endless migration is over. The time of the settled life has begun. The new crops, the new fishing tools, the new knowledge, it's all a sign from the spirits, a sign that this is your land, this is your home. He's decided that you will no longer be a nomadic tribe, a people who follow the seasons. You will be a settled tribe, a people who build a home and stay in one place. A mainstream historical fact here is that this transition from a nomadic to a settled lifestyle, a key component of the Neolithic Revolution, was a momentous decision that fundamentally altered the course of human history. It led to the development of permanent villages, a more complex social structure, and a deep, abiding connection to a specific piece of land. The work begins immediately. You and the other men begin to build, not just a simple lean-to of sticks and leaves, but a permanent structure. You are using a new technique, a way of weaving branches together and covering them with mud and clay, a primitive form of wattle and daub. It's a tedious, time-consuming process, but as the walls begin to take shape, you feel a deep sense of pride. This is not just a shelter, this is a home, this is a house. Historians still argue whether the first permanent homes were a result of agriculture or if they were a precondition for it. But for you, it's a simple cause and effect. You have the crops, and so you have the house. A quirky tidbit is that some of the earliest permanent structures were not just for people, but also for food storage. Early humans learned that by creating a cool, dark, and dry place to store their surplus grain, they could ensure their survival through the lean winter months. Your tribe is building a small, permanent hut just for your grain, a testament to your newfound wisdom. It's a small building, but it holds the future of your tribe, a physical embodiment of a promise that you will never again go hungry. As you stand back and look at the new home, a strange feeling washes over you. You are no longer just a member of a tribe. You are a citizen of a village. You are a person with a permanent address. The world, once so vast and terrifying, is now a small, manageable place. The endless journey is over, and the new journey, the journey of building a life, has just begun. As the sun sets, casting long shadows across the new home, you feel a deep, quiet sense of belonging. The world is still a dangerous place, of course, but now you have a fortress, a sanctuary, a home. And as you walk into the newly built structure, you feel a sense of peace you've never felt before. You are home, at long last. The village, your new home, is a place of quiet industry. The days are a blur of planting, harvesting, and building. The children, once so afraid of the world outside the cave, now run and play in the fields, their laughter a sweet, constant sound. The elders, once the quiet keepers of stories, are now the busy teachers of a new way of life, their hands dirty with the soil, their voices filled with a new kind of authority. You, once a hunter, are now a farmer, a builder, a protector of a new kind of legacy. The cycle of your life has changed, but your purpose remains the same, to survive and to ensure the survival of your people. You're sitting by the fire, your hands busy mending a fishing net. The air is filled with the smell of roasting grain, a new and delicious scent that has replaced the heavy smell of roasted meat. You look at your son, a small, bright-eyed boy who is playing with a small, carved wooden figurine of a bison. He is a child of this new world. He will never know the constant hunger of the winter, the fear of the endless journey. He will never know the feeling of a cold, damp cave wall. He will know the warmth of a fire in a permanent home, the security of a full belly, the joy of a life lived in one place. You feel a deep, quiet pride. You have given him a legacy, a future that is safer and more predictable than your own. A mainstream historical fact is that the shift to a settled, agricultural lifestyle led to a population boom. With a more reliable food source, more children survived to adulthood, and the human population began its slow, inexorable rise. Your son is a part of that boom, a testament to the success of this new way of life. He is a symbol of a future that your ancestors could only dream of. Historians still argue whether the settled lifestyle was a net positive for humanity, with some arguing that it led to a less varied diet and a more sedentary lifestyle. But in this moment, watching your son play, you know that you have made the right choice. A quirky tidbit: some evidence suggests that early settled communities had a more complex concept of property. Your father, once a leader of a nomadic tribe, is now a leader of a village, a man who owns a house and a field. It's a new kind of authority, one based not on strength, but on ownership. As you look at your son, you think about the knowledge you have to pass on to him. You will teach him how to plant a seed, how to harvest the grain, but you will also teach him the old ways. You will teach him how to sharpen a stone, how to track an animal, how to be quiet and still in the woods. You will teach him the stories of your ancestors, the ones whose handprints are on the cave walls. You will teach him that the world is still a dangerous place, and that even in this new, safer world, he must always be on his guard. You are a bridge between two worlds, a person who holds the knowledge of the past and the promise of the future. You are a link in an unbroken chain, a person who will ensure that the legacy of your tribe, a legacy of resilience and strength, will continue. And as you watch your son, you feel a deep, abiding hope. He is the future, and it looks bright. The sun has set on the village, a slow, gentle descent that paints the sky in a final blaze of color. The air is cool and a little damp, and the stars, those same stars your ancestors used to navigate by, are beginning to emerge, a silent, comforting presence. The fire in the center of the village is a low, flickering presence, its light casting long, dancing shadows on the walls of your new home. The day's work is done, the village is quiet, and the world, for a moment, is at peace. You lie down in your home, not on a cold, hard cave floor, but on a soft bed of woven rushes and animal hides. The walls of your home are made of mud and clay, and they hold the day's warmth, a gentle, comforting heat that soaks into your bones. You are no longer just a body seeking shelter. You are a person who has built a home, a person who has changed their world. Your son is sleeping next to you, his breathing a soft, rhythmic sound. You reach out and gently touch his hand, his small fingers closing around yours in his sleep. This is the legacy you have built, a legacy of warmth, of safety, of love. A mainstream historical fact is that the development of permanent housing and the creation of more comfortable sleeping arrangements would have had a profound impact on the health and longevity of early human populations. It's a small detail, but it's a big deal. You close your eyes and think about the journey you have taken. You remember the cold, the hunger, the fear. You remember the thrill of the hunt, the taste of a ripe berry, the warmth of the fire. You remember the faces of your ancestors, the ones whose hands are on the cave walls, the ones whose stories are in your heart. You are a bridge between two worlds, a person who holds the knowledge of the past and the promise of the future. You are a part of a long, unbroken chain of humanity, a person who has survived, who has adapted, who has created a new world for your children. The sounds of the night are a gentle lullaby. The soft rustling of the leaves in the night breeze, the distant hoot of an owl, the quiet breathing of your family. It is a world that is still dangerous, still wild, but it is also a world that is now a little safer, a little more manageable, a little more your own. You feel a deep, quiet sense of peace. The struggle is not over, of course. There will always be challenges, always be hardships. But for tonight, for this moment, you are safe. You are home. You are loved. Your thoughts begin to slow, the memories of the day fading into a soft, hazy blur. The firelight flickers on the walls, and the shadows dance a final, sleepy waltz. The world outside is a silent, waiting darkness, but in here, in this small, warm space, you are safe. You are drifting now, your body heavy and warm, your mind quiet and at peace. The journey is over, the story is told, and the long, deep sleep you have earned is finally here. The fire is now a soft, glowing ember, a quiet heart in the darkness. The shadows on the walls are gone, replaced by a deep, velvety darkness. The world outside the village is a silent, gentle place. The wildness of the day now, a distant memory. The air is still, and the only sound is the soft, rhythmic breathing of your sleeping family. You are a small, quiet presence in this vast, endless night, a single, flickering light in the vast darkness of time. You have survived, you have built, you have loved, and now you rest. Let the images of the day fade away, the sounds of the journey disappear into the soft hum of the night. There is nothing to do, nothing to fear, nothing to worry about. You are home, you are safe, you are at peace. Just breathe in and breathe out, a slow, gentle rhythm that guides you deeper and deeper into the quiet comfort of your sleep. Sweet dreams, my friend.